you have the power to create more traffic to your website outside of Facebook, Google, and all that stuff, right? You have the power to play with your website that you own to a point where it will entice people to take action.
Hello and welcome to episode 83 of the Smart Agents Podcast. My name is Michael Walter and I'll be your host. In today's episode, we're joined by Michael Beczynski, founder of Buzzworthy Integrated Marketing and best-selling author of The Rule of 26 for service-centric businesses. Throughout our conversation, Michael shares how real estate professionals can build their credibility in businesses through proper digital marketing. Now, before we get on to today's featured interview, make sure to subscribe to the Smart Agents Podcast. You can find the show on all major podcasting platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and now Amazon Music. And lastly, if you or someone else on your team has an awesome story or a tip to share with our community, send us a message at feedback@smartagents.com. We're always on the lookout for new stories to share. All right, let's get on to today's featured interview with Michael Beczynski. I've included a link to his book, The Rule of 26 for Service-Centric Businesses, in the episode description. Really, the way I like to start everything out is if you could just introduce yourself a little bit, where you're at and who you are.
I am Michael Beczynski. I'm in my office. I'm just kidding. I am Michael Beczynski. I'm the president of Buzzworthy Integrated Marketing and the author of a best-selling book, The Rule of 26. I am a 10-year Air Force veteran. I currently reside in Springfield, Illinois. I spent 18 years in Alaska. I moved down just right before the pandemic. Yay me. I've been in business now for 17 years, and I have worked with service-centric businesses like real estate all the time, the whole time.
What was it that made you want to, make that shift after coming out of the Air Force?
Originally, it was actually a recording studio that I started. And then about a year in, I realized that surviving off of starving musicians was a really bad business plan. So it morphed into a media company for small businesses, and the media production house turned into evolved, I should say, into a creative agency. And that whole progression took about 15 years. And in the end of 2018, I found myself with like a 13,000 square foot facility, 20 employees that really didn't appreciate what they had. And I was underpaid and just miserable. So I shut it all down at the end of 2018. In 2019, I started Buzzworthy Integrated Marketing, and I did a completely virtual company. And ever since, we've just been building that back up. But I've served the needs of marketing needs of over 750 businesses nationwide now.
Wow. So definitely good, when you have that many businesses and that many different, needs that you're serving, you have a good understanding of what some of the issues are that people are facing.
I can diagnose a business usually within 5 minutes of talking to somebody. There's only so many shades of failure that come your way. So it's a matter of recoloring their future with doing it the right way, because there's so many bad ways to do it out there. So my whole mission is to double the revenue of as many, I say 10,000 businesses in the United States. So,
right. When it comes to that, figuring out how to market yourself. Real estate is one of those interesting ones because it is so person to person. It is a very personal business, but you can't just rely on the referral business. You have to market yourself. So what have you seen that agents, have done in the past that maybe is not necessarily working anymore and, moving forward?
Well, back before the bubble, the 2005 bubble, I lived in Anchorage, Alaska. There were 1,500 agents in Anchorage. By 2006, there were 300. So, a lot of people come into this industry when the gold rushes are hitting, right? When the bubbles are exploding. And I feel like we're kind of coming up to the next one. And so the people who have been around long enough know that, that you have to have all your ducks in a row when the inventory dries up, the buyers are not there, whatever it is that will cause this bubble to burst. If you don't have your ducks in a row, like, people really rely on their broker too much that's the biggest thing I've seen. So I've seen some independents who've gone to like Keller Williams and whatnot. And I've worked with Keller Williams. Like, it's a great company to develop realtors. I mean, they have a lot of training and a lot of backing, and they do a lot of advertising and stuff like that. But at some point, you're going to need to stand on your own 2 feet, right? Because it's going to be there's going to be a point where you're going to feel shackled into what you can do personally. And you said it, like, it's a personal brand. And if you are just like everybody else in that Keller Williams office, you are at the whim of Keller Williams. And no longer do you own a business, you own a job. And you're paying them to have that job with your fees every year. And that's bad.
Right. Yeah.
Profit sharing in reverse.
Right. And, and then say you decide, hey, you know what, this just isn't working out, I want to move on. If you haven't done your own personal branding, now you're starting from scratch again.
Mm-hmm. This is funny. There's a parallel between realtors and financial advisors. They do the same thing. They both usually have to work under brokers for the majority of their careers. And at some point, they'll write their own book of business. And the ones who start early with their own personal brand are the ones who make it. And that's because they own their traffic, right? You literally are buying traffic when you pay your brokerage fee, literally, right? So if you want to sit in the office and just collect the referrals that come in from the websites that they've got going on and realtor.com and all that other stuff that goes along with that, fine. You're going to be at the whim of whoever is handing that to you, right? You're being fed. But if you want to be a hunter, you want to be a gatherer, you want to be a farmer, all of those things take your own quiver, your own land. You have to till it. You have to work it. And until you take that ownership, you really are at the whim of anybody that you're relying on.
Right. And, it's interesting. Before we, go too far into our conversation, I want to touch back on your book, because I think a lot of what we will be, discussing is also in your book. So tell me a little bit about this best-selling book you have.
So this is the Rule of 26. And this one's for service-based businesses, which realtors are service-based businesses. And it basically breaks down the metrics that you have to pay attention to in your website marketing to be profitable. So many times what I hear from realtors is that, well, my website doesn't make me any money. It's like, well, you get what you get out what you put in, right? And but the problem is that digital marketing, website marketing is extremely complicated if you make it that way. I was on a show just recently with Digital Marketer, which trains people how to be digital marketers. They've trained over 140,000 people, right? They've worked with the likes of Keller Williams and whatnot, and teaching their upper ends. And I was talking to the president of that show, and we were talking about the fact that you don't want to learn another craft just to market your website. That sucks. So I came up with this rule to, one, give us a measurable outcome so that you understand when you're succeeding, and two, give you metrics that you understand and can actually act on. And that's what the book's all about. So the Rule of 26 states that if you increase your unique traffic that are coming to your website by 26%, the conversion rate of those visitors to reaching out to you and starting a relationship by 26%, and the average revenue per client by 26%, you'll have a compound output of 100% more sales coming from your website.
There you go. Wraps it up.
In a bow.
Yeah. No, but, and you talked about there was the, it can be so complicating and so difficult to figure out, especially just even in the metrics, like which ones matter anymore.
Right.
Because things change so much with the different softwares. I mean, I'm sure everybody is feeling the heat, the hurt of, when Facebook decides to change something, or the Apple iOS, when they're changing their tracking, like who even knows what metrics are almost real anymore.
Right. Well, and that's why, I looked at it when I was creating this. I wanted to look at tangible um, KPIs that we have control over. Right. Mm-hmm. You have the power to create more traffic to your website outside of Facebook, Google, and all that stuff. Right. You have the power to play with your website that you own to a point where it will entice people to take action. You have the power to decide who you do business with, so that when you're spending the same amount of time that it takes to sell a house, whether it is $1 million home or a $200,000 home, right? You have to decide that. That's your control. So when you have control of all 3 KPIs that could double the revenue coming from your website, it's on you. And I like that. I like owning my business.
Right. And, and with that, you're talking about those real estate websites. I was just looking up someone that I was looking up an agent out in California, and, they have the realtor.com website. They have the brokerage provided one. There's no information on that person. It's a name. There's no photo. I mean, nothing. It doesn't link back to anything. And it's like, and those are the top 2 sites that are showing up on Google when you search this person's name.
Wow. And that's a local, you're doing like a local search for them?
Yeah. Yeah. It was searching.
So you're looking specifically for them and they're doing that. Yeah. But I mean, that, directories are something that can definitely help you build your business, right? Those directories are made to do one thing: get people on them and click on the links within them, right? They're the new yellow pages. So instead of just one book, we have millions of books out there. And each of those books, though, are very specified now. So, you do have the realtor.com, and it does have its directory, and they have the lawyers.com, and they have the dentist.com, and you can go on and on and on. That's great. But you are one of many on that directory. On your website, you're the only one. And if your website can outrank that directory, you've now outranked everybody in that directory for your niche, right? So many times I hear realtors, well, I work with first-time home buyers. Okay. Is that first-time home buyer a condo buyer, or is that a single-family home buyer? Is that first-time home buyer a fourplex buyer? Those are 3 different types of people. Yeah. Would you not agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
So if I live in, say, a metro where there are thousands of all of those, why would I try to spread my messaging so thin that nobody can recognize who I'm actually trying to serve, and therefore be a jack of all trades and a master of none, right? And being a jack of all trades is great. You could do all those things. Shoot, I have a friend and a client who does commercial and residential because she can. Should she? No. Why do they not grow? Because they are too widely spread. They're trying to be everything to everyone, but you can only make some of the people happy some of the time. You cannot make all the people happy all the time. So choose where your passion and your most profitable energy goes, right? Some people make a killing with first-time home buyers, underqualified, where they know these programs and they can guarantee, blah, 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 right? There's a niche there. And if you can just get that pipeline feeding you on a regular basis, how much better is that to go, okay, well, today I'm going to work on a project that's going to pay me X, and then I'm going to wait a while, and then, here's another one, and it's going to pay me Y, but then I'm going to wait a while, and then Z is way down here, right? And now my money's all over the place. Versus I'm going to go for high-end homes, and I know that I'm going to only have a sale every 3 months. And I know multi-million-dollar home sellers who sell one every month, sometimes 2 a month. They make a lot of money. But why is that? Because everybody who's in that market is referring to them. That is the high-end home expert in that market. And they're the only person you should talk to if you're looking for that home, because they know what they're talking about. They're going to get you the right one. And if they can't find it, they have tools to do ... right? That's your differentiator, right? If there are 300 realtors, agents in your brokerage, what makes you different? You got to find that differentiator.
Right. And, so portraying that message, and using those online tools in your website, what are some of your tips for actually, getting that message out there that you are the condo, you are the condo queen, like you have every one of these condos a unit opens up. Yeah, when a unit opens up, right? Or anything, you are the one that has it. How do you start getting that messaging out there so that when somebody is just kind of, hey, I might be in New York, but I'm moving down to Florida, in about a year, and I want to start kind of putting some feelers out and searching, and I'm doing my own little online searching. How do I make sure that you, the condo queen, gets your name up there?
So the condo queen is going to understand the customer's journey from the time that they decide they're going to move to the time they decide, oh, well, we're going to move into a condo in Florida. There's a discussion that happens with that family or that even the single person that they do research. And so you need to put yourself in front of that person during the research phase. So it's really a content marketing play when we talk about niching down and being the expert, authority, right? So you have to show your authority. You have to give this information out, which is great because in real estate, nobody gets paid until a home is sold. Period, end of story, right? So it really doesn't matter what you do because nobody's getting paid until they get the client to close. Fair?
Absolutely.
Right? Right. So what is it that we search for if we are a New Yorker or anywhere for that matter, going to say Florida, Miami, Florida, looking for condos, right? Now I'm going to write blogs. I'm going to write articles. I'm going to go guest speak at, associations. I'm going to do everything I possibly can to hitch my name to buying condos in Miami. Right.
Yeah.
And the first thing is write those blogs on your website and then have an SEO specialist optimize that blog for your website so that when somebody goes, what's the price range of condos in Miami, Florida? That's a long tail keyword. You could probably rank for that pretty quickly without even having a really big website. And you just attach that blog to your website. And then you have your information at the bottom and the top, or maybe on the side a little bit. Partner with mortgage brokers that are in the area, right? Because there's like, hey, if I'm moving down there, I got to find the money. And a lot of people more and more people, I should say, are getting pre-qualified, right? I have a mortgage broker friend. All he does is talk to realtors and they refer back and forth all of each other's leads, right? So the best thing he can do is give that realtor more business because that way any business he gets, they're going to get it, right? That referral network happens when you are able to give the leads. So many people think that networking is, well, I'll just get in friends with all these people. I'll buy them a couple beers. They'll give me all the business. No. Money talks. You got to be able to hand back just as much, if not more, if you want them to stay loyal to you. Right. And so you do that by creating leads that maybe not are for you, but for your mortgage broker.
Yeah.
That's just one little idea.
Yeah, no. And I think that's a big one. I think a lot of people, they go to these mixers thinking, oh, I'm going to meet a bunch of people. We'll have some beers together. And now they have my business card.
Right. Well, and they'll always be thinking of me because they got my business card in the bathroom. They got a copy of it on the refrigerator and they put it in the shower and
yeah, definitely. Well, and, it was interesting. You talked about that SEO and having, bringing in, an SEO expert. I think that's something that's really important too, is, what, at a certain point you have to say, I don't understand this part of the marketing. Let me bring somebody in to help me. And I think that's something that a lot of people just are sometimes afraid to do.
There's a couple of reasons why though, right? One, the realtor hasn't handled their cash flow correctly because they're getting paid a lot here and a little bit here and maybe some here and it's sporadically coming in, right? So how am I going to bring in a professional that's going to take investment because you can't get return on an investment unless you make an investment, right? And that person is going to want to get paid like on a regular basis, probably, right? So if I don't have my ducks in a row where I have steady income to pay for that, boom, right there. So shoot, what do I do? Well, then you want to save up so that you can have that steady cash flow to pay that out, because it's not a short game. You don't write a blog, post it up, and then all of a sudden everybody's, oh, you're the queen of da, 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 right? No, it's not going to happen that way. It's going to be a year from now. Gary Vee even says, it's one of the few things I agree with him. What you do today affects your sales next year when it comes to authority. It takes that long, especially if we're talking a big market like Miami. Right. But even in a small market, so Springfield has like 117,000 people in here, right? I thought I was going to blow into town. I came from Anchorage, Alaska. It's 370,000 people. I'm like, there's only like a third of the people here, right? Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many hands I shake, because the smaller the town, the more it is about who you know, not what you know.
Right.
And for some of the people that I've met, I can, no offense to them, I can outmarket them. I can run marketing circles around them, but they have the relationships. So I'm not going to win until I spend enough time pouring my knowledge into the market so that they understand that I care about their success, not just trying to get them as a client.
Right. And I think that's where, having that, putting that time into it, that's where when these agents are working for these brokers, use that time when you do have, some of the support to start building up that, that reserve fund of your authority. Use that time to really kind of start, making your name for yourself in that specific niche.
I think the mentality is this. If you work for a broker, you have a hybrid business. You own some of it. The only thing you really own is your success. Like, you put in the time, you get the success, right? So if we think of it that way, where I pretty much own a job now, instead of having a job, I own a job. Okay. Well, to go into business, most people have a side hustle. So what if your side hustle is that you hang your own shingle? You act like you're going to hang your own shingle. You may never do it, but if you act like it, you will do the things that it means to stand on your own 2 feet. And when you do that, you'll be getting twice as many leads as anybody else in that brokerage who isn't.
Yeah.
And you're moving twice as fast, and people are looking at you like, why? And then you're going to be the lead broker, the lead agent, and all the other things. I have a friend who worked for Keller Williams, and Keller Williams at one point touted him across the United States, right? And paid him, I want to say 7 figures over the time that he was speaking, and basically teaching people how to be a really good KW broker agent, right? So he was making money by making money. And he did that because he didn't rely on KW specifically to dictate his future. He had his side hustle, the reality of that. And that made him a leader.
Right. Touching on a little bit of a different topic, and it really still with this SEO and how these agents can kind of step away from using the brokerage, and maybe even building that kind of side website on the side, while they're working for the brokers, to start building up that capital. What are some of the tools that people can use that if they don't have the website building, knowledge to really kind of get started to where it's not just, a picture collage out there on the line?
So we understood that there are people like agents in all sorts of service businesses out there. I have a neighbor down the street. He works for the corrections facility here locally. And he came up to me really excited because he's going to start his own power washing company, right? This is a side hustle. Okay. And he doesn't have a lot of money. He's got 2 kids and his wife's a nurse, and they have a beautiful house right down the street. So they've got a lot of bills. It's not like he can just say, okay, well, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to go wash houses, right? That's not going to happen, right? So I've, over the years, especially since COVID, I've recognized the need for the tools to build a website without the expense of building a website. So we actually at Buzzworthy have what's called Buzz Builder, where you choose, we give you an array of templates technically, and looks and stuff like that. And you go, oh yeah, I like that look. And then we tell you what content you're going to need for it. And then we've actually put it in for you. And there's no upfront cost. You just pay the monthly fee for the hosting. And then we do all the back end stuff and all that stuff. So all you got to do is just keep adding. We train you on how to basically, so what you see is what you get, which is called a WYSIWYG, front end editor. So you just click, I want to change this, click, I want to add this, ... And you just keep, you break it. Yeah, we help you, right? Done. Right. But it's a way for you to get yourself in the door, start building up that authority on your own, and have your own home to go to. When you start handing out your cards, you can start talking about that website, and that website can link to your KW. That's fine. If people need to search, they're going to go there. 9 times out of 10, they're not going to Keller Williams. They're going to realtor.com, right? They're going, what was the other big one that I just forgot because I stopped using them because their listings were always bad. I can't remember what it is. But there's people who are like, that's their expertise, is actually getting people to rank on that website, right? But now you're at the whim of that website. Having your website means you own your own traffic.
Yeah. Yeah. And then by using you guys, I mean, it's just, you have such a vast knowledge of getting those rankings and making sure that content on your website is actually doing something and really is bringing in traffic. Because it can be, it can be really frustrating to beat your head against the wall and be doing all this content. But if you don't understand the long tail keywords and all the tagging, it's a whole bunch of words that aren't doing anything for you.
Right. And that's why we created what's called Dizio, which is a do-it-yourself SEO tool for those who can't afford a done for you solution. Because a real done for you SEO expert is going to run you $150 to $175 an hour, or if they're packaging it up, anywhere from $1,500 to $3,500 a month. Okay. Most brokers cannot handle that kind of investment over the long term, because you're still talking 6 to 12 months, right? So we created Dizio, which allows people to do SEO without having to learn SEO. And then with some of the things that might get too technical, they can push it to our team ad hoc. So they just push a little bit here, just do that. And we give them a discount for being in the program. And it has an SEO Academy. So if you want to learn more about it, but the great thing is we set it up with them, right? So they're all set up and plugged in. We know what keywords, we help them do the keyword research, all that stuff. So they're pointed in the right direction. They know what keywords they're going for, right? Then the system tells them what to do. Oh, you need to write a page that says this, this, and this. Okay, great. Well, you need to do this on your website to optimize it, right? This is how you do it. This is why it's important, ... Done. And now for, I think that one's like $169 a month. They're getting all of the tools that people like us use and charge $3,500. You're just exchanging the time for the money.
Right. And at the same time, they're also getting, they're learning. Yeah. They're learning how to do this on their own, and to really understand that, okay, these are the types of pieces of content that I need to be thinking about to do, rather than somebody just doing it for them. Because, there's those companies out there. Yeah, we'll take your money and we're going to throw. They
literally just take your money.
Right. And then they don't. And then if something happens where, hey, you know what? I need to cut off that service for whatever reason. I have no clue how to start it back up on my own. And now I'm dead in the water.
You're done. Yeah. And we actually have people who, they get into it, they actually enjoy it, but they want to get deeper into it. And we have a done with you program where we actually coach people along and get them really going. And I always say that when you're starting out, learning what is going on in the background really helps you hire the right people when you're ready to and can afford to give it to the experts. Experts will always do it better, right? If you get a good expert. And that's the trick. You got to find somebody who is morally sound, right? They won't just take your money and run, won't lie to you when they're the ones that are not doing their job, all those types of things, right? They need to be fiduciary to your needs. And that's hard to find in the digital marketing realm. I run into it all the time. I save people, probably 2 out of every 5 new clients are coming from a firm that ripped them off. Yeah. 40% of my new clients are coming from somebody who ripped them off. You know how hard that is for me to create that trust after they've been ripped, some of them tens of thousands of dollars down the drain, not even mentioning the opportunity costs of all the time spent dealing with it.
Right.
It's sad. Yeah. So and learn what you're going to buy and then find the experts you can trust.
Right. And before we wrap up, one of the things when it comes to the online marketing, where do you see the social media marketing falling into that? Because I think a lot of times people and agents, they spend so much time on that and they think that's where they need to be put at.
Oh, beautiful social media. Back in 2005, right before the bubble, yes, you could use Facebook and get new clients. It was really nice. Now, when you post, less than 3% of your followers see it, let alone anybody who doesn't know you. Okay. Social media is a community. We do not build leads. We build trust through community. We build likability community. We build loyalty through our community. So with that said, I look at social media more as a conversion tool than a lead generation tool. You want to look like a sleazy salesperson? Sell on social media. If you want to be trustworthy and likable, share your life and then share your knowledge. People will like and trust you. And then that top of mind awareness, as you continue to do that, will create the loyalty enough and the awareness enough to where when they do need you, you will be at the top of their list. But that's not where they started. They started 2 out of 3 people who start the buying process start on a search query. They don't go to Facebook to start looking for a home. Right. Just remember that.
Right. It's definitely, you're not there. Facebook should not be, the billboard that brings somebody to you. It's that, you're there to drop off that educational content that, they do start trusting you, and all that kind of stuff can be then used on your blog. And, that's the great thing about the way content is now is it can be so easily dispersed around different platforms.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if you follow me on LinkedIn, I do like a little micro blog there. Right. And I give away free information. On Twitter, I give, 255 characters of free information. I don't sell anything. Very rarely. I might mention my book every once in a while. I might mention a new launch every once in a while, but I don't make it a big campaign. Right. That's not where it's going to be, because I don't know if that's what you want to look at, but I do know you would like some more information about marketing. That's why you follow me. And so if you think about that in a real estate point of view, you don't know when people are coming into that conversation. So your conversation might have a cycle. It could have a whole year cycle, right? Because there is a cycle in the real estate industry, right? Yeah. Sales are slower in January. So what are we doing in January to do what, ... right? But sales are really high in June and July and August, right? Where it's nice and warm. Everybody's moving around, right? So if you understand those ebbs and flows, then maybe there's some secrets you can share with potential buyers who are in the market during each of those cycles. Those cycles don't change all that much. So all you have to do every year after your first year is start refreshing it. What's new? What's a different take on it, right? Just stay just interesting enough. So when people dive into the market and and they find you because you're ranking high on, say, a search engine, because 2 out of 3 are going to find you on the search engine, they're going to get into your ecosystem, right? And at some point when they're done buying, they're coming out and you won't see them for 4, 8 to 12 years, right? So that's okay, because guess what happens? They're in your social media. And if you do your social media right, and you're not being a sales pitcher, right, and a big billboard guy, and you continue to create a value there by maybe, how do we keep our home value up? How do we do home improvements? How do we, whatever that looks like, continue to create that, so it's a one-to-many. And as you build that community, now you're getting referrals and all that stuff from that, and they start becoming predictable.
Right. And I think, and just in close, I think a lot of this, when it comes to that content marketing and the SEO, it is not overnight.
No,
it is a long game.
Even all the money in the world will not make you an overnight success. Most people look at people and go, oh, they're an overnight success. And they never look behind the curtain of the 10 years it took for the people who rise to the top to get there. When you change direction, you're doing a minimum of a year's worth of work getting traction in another direction. But if you can get up to speed and you start making micro corrections, you can make that acceleration much faster. So Find out what you're passionate about. Find out who you're passionate about serving. Find out what processes you love and don't love so that you are doing business in process, utilizing processes you love and you can be most profitable with, and stick with it.
Absolutely. Well, again, could you let me know where we can find your book for anybody?
The book is at ruleof26.com. And if your listeners send me a copy of their ebook download, I will send them a free signed copy of the paperback. And even if they want an extra copy, I just had somebody actually buy the paperback. They're like, can I still get a free copy? I will give you a copy if you were there. Just email me at buzz@buzzworthy.biz, that information where you want me to send it to, and I'll send you that free copy. My company is Buzzworthy Integrated Marketing, and that's Buzzworthy with 2 Z's .biz, buzzworthy.biz.
Awesome. Thank you so much for, sharing all this insight. It's one of those things, content marketing and real estate agents. Sometimes it is very, it's scary. It can get scary out there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's tough because, we're in an industry, realtors are in an industry that it's what you're doing today. We were taught, if you make 100 phone calls today, you're going to get X amount of appointments. Out of those appointments, you're going to get this many showings. Out of this many showings, you're going to get this many sales, right? So it's always been a numbers game. Content marketing is not that way because trust doesn't work that way. It's different for everybody. So good luck, everyone.
Oh, man. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Michael.
I want to thank Michael for taking the time to join us today. There was so much great information packed into a short conversation, so be sure to check out his book, The Rule of 26 for Service-Centric Businesses. I've included a link in the episode description. So once again, if you think you or someone else on your team has an awesome story or a tip to share with our community, send us a message at feedback@smartagents.com. Well, that wraps things up for this episode, but remember, follow the show wherever you listen to podcasts and make sure to subscribe to the Smart Agents YouTube channel. Again, I'm Michael Walter, and we'll see you on the next episode.